everyone, and welcome back to our e-commerce exchange series. We're excited to dig into trending topics, industry best practices, and tactics our teams use today to help our brands grow. I'm Nicole Lindsay, Chief Growth Officer at Blue Wheel and host for today and throughout the rest of the series. I'm super excited to welcome our newly promoted VP of Creative Services, Lindsay Keene, to discuss what we call conversion creative. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks, Nicole. I'm excited for our chat today.
Great. Well, without further ado, we can get into it. First, to start, can you give our listeners a quick definition of what we call conversion creative?
Sure. We often see clients and brands reusing creative from previous launches, campaigns, shoots, to fill the gap in their advertising content, but they often come to us because they're not seeing the results that they were expecting. Being an omni-channel provider, we create content that's specifically designed to convert in paid advertising across the omni-channel space, as well as throughout every stage of the marketing funnel. When we're working with clients, we are always asking what channels they're on, where their gaps are in creative and how we can fill that, and really trying to make sure that we're creating content for, omni-channel, a lot of different avenues, being able to utilize that lifestyle photo shoot that we might have for advertising, and then being able to use that for e-commerce or Amazon. So really just trying to create a variety of assets that we can use all over the place. So simply put, conversion creative is our unique philosophy for developing advertising creative for brands that converts.
Can you give us a few best practices for when brands really want to use this, when you know that it's super applicable to them? What does that look like from a best practice standpoint?
Some best practices that we've seen really work is focusing on scroll stop for video ads. So there's so much noise out there. People's attention spans are really, really distracted. So really cutting through that and catching a customer's eyes by having content that is interesting and different and will stand out. Also, never starting on a static shot or a solid color. This automatically will trigger people to just scroll past because it's not moving, it's not engaging, and it's just a blank, solid color. Also, having a mix of lifestyle, product, and UGC content and testing what works for each platform. I think a lot of times we see clients that only have maybe one, and really having that mix is good for really thinking omni-channel and all the different advertising channels that you're posting on. And then for paid social, thinking about sound off and having that copy that you have on screen really short and attention grabbing and meaningful. So thinking about the message that you want to put on screen, cutting it down, and really just having those couple of words that are really meaningful. So if people are watching without sound, they know exactly what you're trying to get across.
So do you have some more tactical day-to-day examples of how to make these best practices implemented into current creative efforts that our brands might be doing today?
Some examples and things that I always say is for brands to have videos that have messages where you see and say your message. So those visuals and messages are aligned. An example of this might be if you have an ad that's really stressing the quality of your product, that you show maybe the product texture or a nice prop lifestyle shot that looks more high quality, so that if somebody's looking at it, they get kind of the gist of what you're saying, or if they're reading it or doing both, that those two messages align and it makes it, hit the message home more to the customer. Another thing is communicate how your product solves an issue and then bust any kind of barriers that the client might have. So what does this product solve? How will it make the customer's life better? And then with messaging, how do you overcome some of the barriers that they might have to buying your product, whether it's price, whether it's free shipping, things like that that can really cut through why they wouldn't order your product. If you have video playing and text flying in at the same time, it becomes really complicated to digest all of those moving images at once. So your viewer is going to lose something, whether it's the visual you're showing or the text. So not having too many things moving on screen at the same time, or pacing them where maybe the video starts in and then text, so you give the viewer time to digest that video, then read the text. We want people to read the words that we're saying. That's the messaging and strategy behind the ads. So really directing their eyes to that text when you want them to see it. So one example of this might be highlighting the most important word, or maybe putting a background box behind the most important word, so that even if you have a string of a couple of different words, that most important word is going to be what they digest and cuts through the rest of it. Another thing that is a little bit more based on timing is when we're creating ads, we always read faster when we know what we're reading. But a viewer is seeing this for the first time and they might not have time to digest that. So it's always safe to do 1.5 to 2 times reading for each section of text.
Great. So taking a step back from the best practices and tactics, I know you talk to dozens, if not hundreds of brands a year about their creative capabilities. And I know that from an e-com perspective, there's always challenges. Sometimes we find that the brands are set up really, really well for traditional creative, right? Where it is in catalogs or it's in print, but maybe not so much for e-com. So what are some other things that we're seeing today and potentially even right now in 2023 in the back half of the year, getting prepped for the holiday season?
Yeah, we see a lot of times that clients will come to us and they really just need to be able to get more content out more quickly. We have a large creative team, and we're really dedicated to getting content out quickly based on the client's needs. And especially as we move into Q4, this is a big time where internal teams get really, really slammed with work. So we definitely can handle the volume that maybe an internal team, creative team can. And also we understand what works for advertising. We're learning not just across one individual brand, but also across all of our clients. So not only getting learnings for what works for them, but also what works for the rest of our clients, whether that's in the same vertical or in, other verticals as well.
Can you expand upon the benefits of thinking about digital first creative versus the more traditional way that brands still often think about it?
So when we think digital first, we think about the message and strategy first. So when we're planning productions, we're matching what we can capture and what we can test based on that strategy. This makes our productions a lot more modular, and that makes it easier in the long run with these assets to be able to update them based on creative learnings or what other creative needs. Say another channel kind of comes and you want to repurpose it. It makes it a lot easier because we're thinking about that strategy of messaging first. In the long run, it saves money. Some of the largest, variable kind of production costs are based on number of shoot days, locations, and talent. That is always going to be the most expensive part of this. And if we can shoot a lot more content in one day and batch different types of content and creative within those shoot days, you're able to get a lot more bang for your buck, as well as having a lot more variety of content.
One last topic I'd like to touch on is our performance commerce effects. So we talked about this in our first one. We always want to apply that to all of our service lines. When you think about creative and how this works into our PCE, or what we call the bow tie, can you quickly give us an explanation of where it falls within the PCE?
Yeah, creative is one of those things that touch a lot of other different channels and really kind of works throughout the whole kind of PCE with performance. So creative definitely helps through the awareness, engagement, and acquisition steps. So really improving the scroll stop, increasing CTR and revenue from ads or CAC. It additionally impacts the impact phase, the MER, and improving ROAS. So overall improving metrics for return on ad spend. And then as well in the lifetime value, LTV, having content that, is dedicated specifically for lower funnel to get that revenue from returning customers.
So basically the entire bow tie is affected by creative, Lindsay. Is that in summary?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely play a part. And when working with other teams within Blue Wheel, we are really collaboratively working with them, understanding these metrics and updating and changing creative based on how they're performing within that bow tie.
If you were to summarize maybe the top 3 things that brands should take away when thinking about creative content, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say first is think about the strategy and messaging before you plan your productions or creative. Plan your content to be modular so that you can test and create different versions. And third would be to capture a lot of different content all at the same time to be able to get more variety.
Well, Lindsay, thank you for joining us today. It's always great to pick your brain. I've learned a ton from you over the last 6 months and continue to do so as your team releases new creative for us. So again, thank you for joining.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, Nicole. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, for everyone else, just want to thank you for joining, and to give you a heads up, our next e-commerce exchange series will be on email and SMS from our brands, which is what we call life cycle. So until then, cheers, and we look forward to seeing you soon.